apparently sympathy for them on our streets.
Do you think Hamas should be prescribed as a terrorist organisation?
No.
No?
No.
Do you think Hamas is a terrorist organisation?
I don't really know enough about it.
I'm joined tonight on the panel by the journalist and comms advisor Linda Jubilee, the academic and author Lisa Mackenzie, and the media strategist Andy Twelves. Very big show coming up, including a chilling development of the small boats crisis, plus the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, hot off the press, and all the big stories inside, including, breaking tonight, Nigel Farage has broken his silence on the reform row with Rupert Lowe in a dramatic column for the Daily Telegraph. More on that shortly. First, though, your news headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Good evening, I'm Lewis Mackenzie in the GB newsroom. The Reform MP Rupert Lowe has been suspended from the party amid allegations he made physical threats against the party chairman, Zia Youssef. Mr Youssef confirmed the party had also received complaints from 2 female employees about serious bullying in Mr Lowe's parliamentary and constituency offices. In a statement, Mr Lowe said he was disappointed but not surprised to learn of what he says are false allegations. He also said that the allegations of bullying from his office are not about him. Pro-Palestine activists have vandalised President Trump's golf course in Scotland. Red paint was sprayed over the clubhouse, while the message "Gaza is not for sale" was painted on the lawn of the US president's Turnberry course. This action is reportedly in response to his administration's plans to, quote, take over Gaza and ethnically cleanse the region. A body has been recovered by police from the River Thames, which is being linked to a manhunt for the suspect in the Valentine's Day pub shooting in Kent. 43-year-old Lisa Smith was killed last month after she was shot outside the Three Horseshoe pub in Knockholt. The suspect was known to Lisa, and later that evening, officers found his car abandoned on the Queen Elizabeth II bridge in the area. A police investigation is ongoing. 3 suspects are still at large after 12 people were injured in a shooting at a pub in Toronto. Authorities say 6 people suffered bullet wounds and others hurt by flying glass or shrapnel. All other injuries are not life-threatening. The motive for the attack is still unclear. Today is International Women's Day. The annual celebration aims to champion women's achievements across all aspects of life. To mark the event, the House of Commons have posted this photo of female MPs. Now, currently, there are 263 female MPs serving in the House, making up 40% of the total number of MPs today, the highest number in the history of the UK. And finally, 4 European brown bears at Whipsnade Zoo have woken up from hibernation. The bears Manna, Minnie, Naya and, of course, Cinderella have finally gotten out of bed after 3 months of deep slumber, signalling the start of spring at the UK's largest zoo. Thank you very much. I've been Lewis Mackenzie, and those are your GB News headlines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. Britain should be on high alert tonight because I can reveal that illegal migrants affiliated with Hamas have now crossed the English Channel into the UK. It comes as GB News exclusively revealed today that 1,900 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since just last weekend, shattering all previous records for the number of arrivals this point in any year since the crisis began in 2016.
قرشتو شيران زروي وحسرته دردم من خد لدس أمسر فسطونا بزم مردم من عاشقي تساوي كزال وقردني برخال نيم عاشقي تشيو تلان وبندن وبرد.
There they are, arriving in Dover today with the Border Force taxi service picking them up. Today was the 8th straight day of small boat crossings. So much, I guess, for Smash the Gangs. But buried amongst the staggering numbers is a more dark and sinister development, because it appears that Palestinians linked with Hamas, the butchers of October the 7th, are now crossing the English Channel to England on small boats. So that guy there is accused of being a member of a Hamas-endorsed unit involved in serious violence on the Gaza-Israel border who wants to, quote, die for the sake of Allah. According to the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, his name is Abu Wade, and he has a TikTok account with tens of thousands of followers where he's been documenting his journey to Britain. This is him in a Calais camp on Monday, just this week, or Tuesday perhaps, waiting for smugglers to launch him across the channel.
طول عمر الناس بتراهن عليا النهارده اول يوم اراهن على نفسي وبعون اللي كسبان سلمت ربنا امري.
And this is him preparing to leave France on what we believe is Wednesday. We understand Abu Wade is now, tonight, in the UK. We don't know where he is. But if you want an idea of what this guy is about, the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism have been doing some important digging. This is him previously taking to TikTok to rip up an Israeli flag.
وصلوا لي هذا الفيديو لكل واحد داعم الكيان الصهيوني. هاي إسرائيل تاعتكم. هاي إسرائيل تبعتكم. هذا هي إسرائيل تاعتكم. شايفينها؟
And this is him taking to the microphone in Gaza, railing against Jews, saying his loftiest ambition was to die for Allah. So the CAA will share with us the full shocking details from 10 p.m. about this guy, so stay tuned for that. But Abu Wade has also been pictured at a conference addressed by the now-deceased leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, the primary mastermind behind the October 7th slaughters. So I'm asking, how many more members of Hamas, ISIS or any other bloodthirsty terror group are now roaming our streets and being put up in taxpayer-funded hotels? We've asked the Home Office tonight whether they're aware of where Abu Wade is. They said in a statement, "We're committed to ending small boat crossings which undermine our border security and restoring order to the asylum system to ensure that the rules are respected and enforced. While it's a long-standing rule that we never comment on individual cases or operational matters, the British public can be reassured that we take all steps necessary at all times to protect the nation's security." The fact is that this man is in Britain, and that fact alone should warrant the small boats invasion being classed as a national security emergency. So I say tonight, Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, over to you. To reveal more of this tonight, I'm joined by GBNews' very own Homeland Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, thank you for your company tonight. You are, of course, on the pulse of this story day in, day out. You exclusively revealed the shocking figures tonight. What can you tell us about, A, these figures, a record since 2016, and following that, this guy who's apparently linked to Hamas?
Well, the figures are unprecedented, there's no doubt. An 8th straight day today of arrivals in the Channel, which for this time of the year, when conditions out in the Channel are normally pretty horrific, it is, as I say, very unusual indeed. We've had conditions which have either been a bit better or borderline, and even when conditions aren't great, the people smugglers are still pushing these boats out into the Channel. And what that's meant is that actually for the year so far, we're now pushing 4,000, which is higher than at any point since this crisis began in 2016. And you alluded to some of the real concerns that people have around security there, and they're right to be concerned, because many of those that come across the channel are instructed by the people smugglers and even some of the NGOs, the charities that are out there as well, to throw their documentation away, to come up with a backstory that makes their case all that bit more powerful in terms of trying to persuade the authorities here in the UK that they should get asylum. But a consequence of throwing your identity away means that in many instances the authorities have absolutely no idea who these people are. Occasionally, of course, if they enter international criminal databases, their details can be there, but if they're not on those databases, then we simply don't know. And we know in this country, as we're seeing in Germany and France and elsewhere in Europe, that those coming from overseas, particularly asylum seekers, there are a number of those, and it can only be a small number, but can still have deadly consequences, who turn to violent extremism.
Yeah, you only need one, Mark, whether it's 40,000 a year or 20,000, you only need one of those people to turn to extremism and violent extremism for it to become a problem. We saw the extraordinary footage of today, that boat rocking up to Dover, or just off Dover, accompanied by Border Force. We knew this was happening anyway, that they act as almost, I mean, they've been accused of being a taxi service, but just explain really what Border Force, their role is. When do they pick up migrants and where do they take them back to? Here we are, this is the image here.
Well, any time, really, that there is a small boat in the channel that crosses to UK waters, they will be intercepted by Border Force. If all the Border Force vessels are tied up, then the RNLI lifeboats will be called in to assist. And the reason for that is simple, because these boats are unseaworthy. They've got into difficulties in the past. We've seen that just today. Another migrant died in the channel and another fell overboard. 6 or 7 at least who've died so far this year. It was more than 70 last year. So under obviously international rules of the sea, the UK is obliged to go to intercept them, to pick them up. I feel a bit for Border Force and for the RNLI. They are just doing their job. At the end of the day, any decision on a tougher policy, a decision on turning back, for instance, the migrants, picking them up, landing them back in France, or enacting a deterrent to ensure that anyone who arrives here illegally doesn't get to stay in the UK and get sent off to a third country. The previous government, of course, had Rwanda in mind. That is for the politicians to decide on that approach. It's not for Border Force or the RNLI. They've got to do the job that they're tasked with at the end of the day. But as I see it, 8 months in now to this Labour government, with this smash the gangs policy of Sir Keir Starmer, I think it's in deep crisis, looking at unprecedented numbers who are crossing the channel so far this year. We are on course to surpass easily the 36,800 who crossed the English Channel last year. That law and order approach alone doesn't seem to be working, and there are many out there with intimate knowledge of maritime security who say we need a deterrent like the Rwanda scheme, the scheme that was scrapped on Sir Keir Starmer's first day in office.
OK, Mark White, thank you for that update. And GB News is ahead of the game on the numbers because Mark White's on the ball. We also have a spotter down at Dover day in, day out, counting the number of boats coming in. So tomorrow, you'll see the rest of the mainstream media, the broadcasters, picking up on the numbers. We are 24 hours ahead, always. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, the anarchist and academic Dr Lisa McKenzie, and the media strategist Andy Twelves. Good evening, panel.
Good evening.
Welcome along. Happy weekend.
Yep.
Lisa, your thoughts on this? I mean, first of all, the 1900 is shocking, but for me, the even more staggering revelation today is this guy who, maybe he's not a fully fledged member of Hamas, he's at least, we can say, heavily linked and affiliated to Hamas. I
think there's sort of 3 points to this. It's the numbers, because that's a lot of people that we have to support when, and where are they going? More and more hotels are now being turned into refugee hotels. Local communities become very worried about that. And I think that's one of the issues. The second issue is obviously security. Who are they? how come there's so many sort of TikTokers now? you know, this is the second one who's had like hundreds of thousands of followers. Remember Madapasa?
He's got Madapasa.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Whatever happened to him, he's got more followers than Mick. Well, I don't know how TikTok, but he's got Andy more followers than most of us sat here on this panel. This guy coming over today or this week, 150,000 people follow him on TikTok. You're not too concerned, though, are you?
I think I trust the UK intelligence sharing agreement with Israel. I'm sure that the military intelligence services would be aware if an actual member of Hamas was coming to our shores. But as far as I'm aware, there's not actually any evidence he's a member of Hamas.
Well, the campaign for anti-Semitism says that he's heavily affiliated with Hamas.
I don't know what their evidence was. I mean, I read it earlier.
Aren't you worried though?
Well, you saw the videos.
I saw that. Yeah, I mean, he threw an Israel flag in the bin. He ripped it up, but he also does regular.
He was also on the mic in Gaza, railing against Jews on the mic. Screaming about Jews.
I didn't read the translation because it was in Arabic. But I mean,
come on, Andy.
To say he said he shared a stage with Sinwar. He was the head of the Hamas political bureau. It's impossible not to have gone to a conference in Gaza or in Palestine without having attended with a minister of Hamas. It's impossible.
Isn't the broad instead of just defining whether this guy's Hamas or
I think there's a big difference between him being a member of Hamas and just being a guy from Gaza.
No, there are problematic... I know this because I worked inside the hotels on 2 6-month projects, and I know that 2 senior borough commanders in London told me there were problematic men coming into this country, whether they're members of Hamas or not. They described it in one of the men-only hotels, which is in West London, as an unexploded bomb waiting to go off.
I'm sure they did, but I think there is a difference between someone being sympathetic and being believing in Palestinian independence and being a member of Hamas.
But Andy, aren't you concerned about rising anti-Semitism in this country? Which is, and I think we should call anti-Semitism what it is. It's just racism.
Yeah,
I am really concerned that it is red flags all over the place around the rising racism in the country.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, as we're getting people in and we don't know who they are, and even if we do know who they are because they've got loads of TikTok followers, the fact that...
Can I just say, and apart from anything else, today's International Women's Day, I believe, apart from that, there's a disconcerting level of misogyny amongst some of the men I met. Really disconcerting. At least 2 of them had to be moved out of hotels because they were brutalising the women they were staying with.
I don't doubt that, and I don't deny that at all. And I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying there is fear-mongering about this guy and his political allegiances or his terror allegiances isn't going to help you.
Andy, I'll tell you, I don't care whether he's a fully fledged member of Hamas or if he's just sympathetic or he just hates Israel. I don't want anyone from Palestine for national security reasons.
You want anyone from Palestine?
Correct. I don't want anyone
from Palestine.
Correct. They voted for Hamas.
That's completely
They democratically voted for Hamas in 2006. It's outrageous.
You don't want anyone from Palestine in this country.
Did you see the coffins of the Bibas boys, the 9-month-old Kafir, Ariel? Hang on, let me finish.
You think the citizens in Gaza are
Did you not see the videos of civilians in Palestine cheering the coffins?
The citizens of the innocent civilians in Palestine.
Did you see them?
I did, yes.
Right.
Are you saying that it's the innocent civilians' fault?
The civilians of Palestine were cheering the coffins holding infant babies, a 5-year-old boy killed by Hamas.
You're saying you don't want anyone from Palestine in this country because of national security. That's racism.
I think
that is racist. I mean, Lisa, you just condemn racism. Is that not racist? Just say you don't want anyone from a country because of national security. That is racist.
I'm not.
It's only racist to soft touchers like you who really are
not really. It's objectively racist.
Aren't you worried? Do you know the thing with Palestine though? And it bothers me that the people that support Palestine, they don't think about the innocent Palestinians there. That they're not thinking about the people who need to be freed from Hamas. And I think we need to hear more about that.
OK, and Andy, by the way, you can go around throwing the racism label around, and you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, you're a racist.
There's no saying that you don't want someone from a country here at all is racist. That is racist.
If you say so, I think I'm putting the country first and the citizens of this country first. Call me a racist if you want. That doesn't mean anything anymore. Calling someone a racist doesn't mean anything.
Well, would you say the same about people with Palestinian descent who live in Lebanon because they were expelled citizens?
No, I think it's slightly different in Gaza. Anyway, Andy, Lisa, Linda, thank you. A slight change of gear. We want to make your spring spectacular in our latest Great British giveaway. Your chance to win £17,770 in tax-free cash, 77777. Here's all the details you need to win.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound?
Oh my God, that's brilliant news.
For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, good luck to you. Andy, quick question. Are Jordan and Egypt racist for not taking Palestinian refugees?
Well, I mean, they're not saying that it's not a ban on Palestinians, it's a ban on Palestinian refugees.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not saying we don't want any Palestinians. There's a lot of Palestinians. There's lots of Palestinians in Egypt and Jordan.
Yeah, sounds like you're a bit stumped there. Anyway, up next, Reform UK are in a civil war. Is there any way back for reform after this? Rupert Lowe spoken out tonight, and Nigel Farage. Is reform destined for the political graveyard, or do they have a future? This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Trans police officers will be allowed to strip search women despite ongoing backlash from critics. New guidance for the National Police Chiefs Council says that biologically male staff who identify as women should be allowed to intimately search women as long as they possess a gender recognition certificate. Now, what could possibly go wrong? But some women's rights groups claim that the police had forgotten about women in their pursuit of gender ideology. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by the Surrey Police and Crime Commissioner, Lisa Townsend. Lisa, a delight to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much for joining us. A lot of people have very, very legitimate concerns that if you're a woman, you're in a vulnerable position, you're being searched intimately, it should be another woman who is searching you. And a trans woman, in a lot of people's eyes, isn't a woman. They're a biological man who says they're a woman. What's your take on this?
I'm afraid that this is just the latest in a long line of announcements like this from the NCC about the ability for trans police officers to search women, males essentially, to search women. We wouldn't think it was okay anywhere else, and it's not okay in policing. I think there's also another way of looking at this, which is it's not just male officers, and they are born male. We are talking about males being able to search women. It's also the other way round. It's also female officers potentially being told that they have to search a trans woman, i.e. a male who has been brought into custody. That male could have been brought into custody because he himself has been violent, and he is insisting that he is a woman, and therefore, you know, there's no time to check the gender recognition certificate, but that's how he identifies, and he insists on a female officer searching him. So I think we have to look at this on both sides, and either way, it can't be right.
GB News, the People's Channel. I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, they say a week's a long time in politics. Well, the last 24 hours certainly has been for Reform UK, as they, what I described as imploded to infighting last night in scenes that absolutely rocked Westminster. After Reform's backbench MP Rupert Lowe gave a controversial newspaper interview which appeared to question leader Nigel Farage's plans for the future, allegations including threats of violence and bullying claims were then made against him and his staff, Mr Lowe, in a scathing statement penned by Chief Whip Lee Anderson and the party chair Zia Youssef. Some of those allegations have been reported to police. He denies them, of course, Rupert Lowe. The latest development, though, tonight, or earlier today, was Rupert Lowe taking to social media to defend his name and accuse colleague and Chief Whip Lee Anderson of telling outright lies. And just a couple of hours ago, more drama. Nigel Farage himself broke his silence, telling the Daily Telegraph, or the Sunday Telegraph tomorrow, that his Reform Party are acting responsibly in regards to Rupert Lowe. So tonight I'm asking, has Reform's civil war blown their political future? Joining me to debate this now is former Reform UK London mayoral candidate Howard Cox and Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde, Sir John Curtis. Good evening to you both. Thank you for your company. Howard, what's your take on this? You've had your run-ins recently with, well, Reform and Mr Farage, haven't you, because of your apparent support for Tommy Robinson. What's your take on this latest drama?
Well, thanks for having me on, Ben. The important thing for me is I'm saddened by what's going on. As you say, a week's a long time in politics. We're talking a matter of hours and how things change. It's incredible. I mean, Reform is a political party that we all had hope in, and me too, because I'm a devout Thatcherite, and I was looking for something to fill that centre-right political space. And I was asked by Richard Tice to become stand as a London mayoral candidate, and I also stood down in the general election in Dover and Deal, and I came second down there with 23% of the vote, just after 3.5 weeks campaigning. But what we are now witnessing is a dictatorship and a cult modelled around one individual again. The same political model we saw in UKIP and the Brexit Party. Where I cannot believe this.
You're talking about Nigel Farage?
Yes, I am indeed. I mean, the party's like a Malteser.
Well, I mean, let me play devil's advocate. Nigel Farage said of Rupert Lowe, he wouldn't even be an MP down in Great Yarmouth if it wasn't for Nigel Farage. He's right in that, isn't he?
Of course it is. I mean, Nigel Farage, when he declared, you know, when Rishi Sunak called for an election and Nigel came out of the woodwork and said, yeah, I'm going to stand as leader, and then he got rid of good, loyal people. Yes, the following for the party grew exponentially. I'm not doubting him. He's a consummate professional. He's a brilliant campaigner. And, you know, and I'm close friends with him. But I cannot handle the way the party's been handled now. And loyal local supporters are being cast aside and thrown under the bus by Zia Youssef, and I don't know why he's doing it. We need honesty and transparency. Yeah, lots of members today online at least saying they're cancelling their membership. Sir John, what's your take on this? Will this have a fatal effect on the future of Reform? Everything was going so well, wasn't it? Ahead in the polls, all the momentum, members flying through the roof, beating the Tories. Now it all seems to have collapsed.
Well, I think one should not exaggerate the likely importance of this, although, you know, behind it there is a bit of a battle about where Reform should stand on economic policy. As Howard, in a sense, has already implicitly acknowledged, the personality who dominates, so far as the public are concerned, is Nigel Farage. And the truth is that Rupert Lowe is not particularly well known. And to that extent, at least, this is very much an internal party battle. And we can exaggerate the extent to which, you know, something which may, yes, indeed resonate in Westminster, necessarily resonates a great deal beyond that. So that's the first thing I would say. Secondly, of course, in a sense, it is the party's good fortune that there is plenty of other news out there. Indeed, of course, not least, of course, the way in which Donald Trump is dominating the news agenda with particularly about what he's doing about Ukraine, but also the implications for European defence. And today, even what he's saying about Iran. Indeed, insofar as I think there is something to worry about for Reform in terms of the news of the last week, I think it is the fact that the party, or at least Nigel Farage in particular, is rather closely associated with Donald Trump, and that is not going to continue to be an electoral asset in the UK, as the poll that's come out this evening indicates. Donald Trump is now deeply unpopular inside the UK. The third thing, of course, is that at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, well, why are Reform doing as well as they're doing? Well, they're doing as well as they're doing because basically a significant section of the public have lost confidence in the ability of both the current government and the previous Conservative administration to deal with 1, the state of the economy, 2, the state of the health service, and 3, yes, immigration, which you were talking about earlier. And the truth is that, nothing has changed about that, and the current government is struggling to deal with these issues. Unless and until those things are turned around, there is always likely to be a space for reform. Because, the one thing that Nigel Farage is very good at, he's very, very good at articulating the discontent that certainly around a quarter of the public currently seem to have with our mainstream parties.
OK. Howard, Nigel Farage has written in tomorrow's Sunday Telegraph about an incident in Parliament involving Rupert Lowe, where he was asking an opposition MP, I think it was a minister, about a situation in his Great Yarmouth constituency. He didn't like his answer. And after the session had finished, he allegedly walked across the floor of the House and physically grabbed, or at least pushed, the minister on the shoulder, and it all got a bit heated. Rupert Lowe, likewise, has written another column saying that he's been thrown under the bus. Can you see where Nigel Farage is coming from when you have behaviour like that in the party?
Well, Ben, if that's true, then fair enough. I just don't know what to believe at the moment, and that's what the grassroots members and supporters of reform need to know. They need to see the truth. And I've known Rupert for some time. On the day I was voted for me, I had put my vote into the ballot box in Westminster for the London mayoral election. No one from Reform headquarters turned up. The only person that did turn up was Rupert Lowe. So I have a loyalty to Rupert because he's a good man, and I'm seeing he's talking my type of politics.
Have you ever seen that behaviour from him, Howard? Is that familiar with you? No.
He's the ultimate gentleman. I've never met him see him do that whatsoever. He's a good man, as is Ben Habib, another one thrown under the bus.
OK, Howard Cox, former Reform UK London mayoral candidate and the Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde. Sir John Curtis, thank you both for your company. Right, coming up, to celebrate International Women's Day, I've been in High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire meeting some protesters who said they were fighting for women's and children's rights just about everywhere, apart from Israel, though, apparently. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're curious about what the weather's doing further afield, well, across the Mediterranean, there's a lot of unsettled weather at the moment, especially Iberia into the south of France. But for Greece, mostly fine, sunny spells, still a bit of a breeze for the Greek islands. Italy, towards the south, yes, plenty of settled weather, but towards the north and northwest, as well as the south of France, unsettled, but not as unsettled as Portugal, Spain, Gibraltar, Madeira, where heavy showers and strong winds will be continuing through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, it's an ice sculpture of an older man living in poverty, and it's been unveiled at the Tate Modern. But this is for an issue that I know basically all of our viewers and listeners, and ourselves included, really do care about.
Yeah, the activity was organised by the charity Independent Age, and it's to raise awareness of the dire financial struggles facing some older people.
Rob Trueheller is a 68-year-old pensioner who the ice sculpture depicts. Now, he's had his winter fuel payment cut off following Labour's tax raid.
Yes, and taxi driver Rob Trueheller joins us now alongside the head of policy and influencing at Independent Age, Morgan Vine. Welcome both. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Start with you, Rob. I mean, what does this sculpture mean to you then?
Well, it's there to... it's a focal point for people to look at and to understand that there's a lot of pensioners in poverty. You know, the winter fuel allowance, which was a mere spit in the ocean, really, £250 for each person, makes a heck of a difference when, you know, electricity prices, etc., are going up.
Talk to me about how this idea came about then and what Independent Age does.
So Independent Age is a national charity, and we provide free independent support to older people living on a low income. We try and make sure that they're getting all of the money they're entitled to. And we also use the evidence that comes through our services and through the grants that we give out to try and work out some of the systemic problems. And one of those is that older people just don't have enough money to live on. As Rob said, they're not receiving the money they're entitled to, many of them. But even for those people that are receiving that money, it's often not enough to live on. So we think that there's more that the UK government and companies and others can do to try and improve the situation.
Yeah. GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, it's time for Leo Unleashed, where I drag my backside out of the studio and travel all around the UK to see what life is like in your communities. This week, I visited the Buckinghamshire town of Wycombe, where a group of pro-Palestine protesters were highlighting the plight of women and children in war zones to mark International Women's Day. It's International Women's Day in High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire, and the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign down this neck of the woods have decided to hold an interesting event in honour of women and children killed in Gaza. They've draped the high street here in High Wycombe with babies' clothes, toys, dummies.
Today, International Women's Day, we're standing with the women of the world, not only in Gaza, but also in Congo, in Sudan, in Ukraine. Unfortunately, the question we ask ourselves, why are the Ukrainians, women and children, supported so much, whereas the children of Gaza who are dying because they are losing limbs and could be brought to our hospitals. These are women and children.
Some might argue the differences between Ukraine is that Palestinians voted for Hamas and they support Hamas.
Been over 1,000 babies murdered in Palestine, 1,000 babies that never got to reach their first birthday. So
just like Kafir Bibas, the Israeli child who was returned
by Israeli airstrikes, and the family asked, Hamas said to them, we've got the bodies here, take them back, and the Israeli government
Was he killed by an airstrike?
Yes, the Israeli government
Hamas said that, who are a prescribed terrorist organisation, let's not forget.
Which is like 1% of the world that prescribes.
You don't think they should be a terrorist organisation?
Do you think that we should have signed the Balfour Declaration giving away land that wasn't ours?
You don't think Hamas, as far as I understand, should be a terrorist organisation, is that right?
I never commented on whether they should or not.
You said only by the UK?
By the UK in a very small fraction.
Do you think October the 7th was a terror attack on Israel?
But that's not my comment, that's up to international law. Do you agree with international law? Do you think it's up to people?
I actually don't really. When it comes to things like the Chagos Islands, I don't. But I'm asking you personally, as a pro-Palestine reporter.
Yeah. If you don't even agree with it, you know who you are. You know what GB News does. We know that they're funded by foreigners. We know that they're funded by people who don't want what's best. You do you. Really do you.
Who here thinks October the 7th was a terrorist attack?
International law. Let's go.
Do you think Hamas should be prescribed as a terrorist organisation?
No.
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 I wouldn't even give them the time of the day. They're racist. They're
outright British.
I'm racist.
Army veteran. Leave them to it.
GB is racist. They are against anything.
Well, let's have an open discussion about it. What's racist about what I've said?
I have got nothing to say to you. Get on my face.
GB News has a particular slant. You have a slant. Your news.
What's that slant, do you think?
Well, you are right-wing broadcaster, aren't you?
I don't know, are you? You think we're right-wing broadcasters?
Yeah, so you're
does that mean we're not allowed to discuss Israel and Palestine?
You can discuss whatever you want.
Oh, thank you. I'll carry on then, if that's okay. Thank you very much. Do you think Hamas is a terrorist organisation?
I don't really know enough about it, to be honest.
Do you think what happened on October the 7th was a terrorist attack?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So by definition then, surely that makes them a terrorist organisation?
Well,
They killed, raped 1,000 Israeli civilians.
Hold on.
Some of this has been debunked. Bernie, don't waste your time.
No, I'm of Irish descent, so you've got the IRE. Now, there are supporters of the IRA who are not terrorists.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, that's what we've descended to.
I would have had a conversation with you, but you don't want one, so off you go. You're not.
I don't want one. You're the one with the loudspeakers coming to drown me out. You fancy a chat, madam?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, OK. There we go. The Palestine Solidarity Campaign here in High Wycombe, lining the streets with baby grows, dummies, so on and so on. And yeah, they don't fancy an open discussion. They'd rather play loud music and heckle and censor. So there we go. Oh, there we are. High Wycombe. It turned into a bit of a Palestine special tonight, a bit of a Hamas special, but it just by coincidence, the guy crossed the channel as well, which we found out today. So there we go. That's the reason for that. Panel, what's your take on that? Should Hamas be a prescribed terror organisation, Lisa, but she's saying that they shouldn't be.
Well, she's wrong, because Hamas are, I mean, they're not only a prescribed terrorist organisation, they are fascists. They're a bunch of fascists.
People, the trouble, and it's women today, they haven't really done enough research into anything. They are just turning up in High Wycombe. That's quite close to where I live.
Lovely place, great town.
It's quite a nice town centre. And they're there having all these discussions with very little research, just talk, and they're not actually adding to the debate at all.
Do you know what? I'm just over middle-class liberals, white women wearing keffiyehs. I am just over it.
Andy, what's your take? Should Hamas be a prescribed terror organisation, as they are now in the UK?
Yes. Yes.
What, do you understand why people like that lady there? She was actually a former British Army veteran.
Which one?
According to her.
Which
one? The one who said Hamas shouldn't be classed as a terror organisation. Why do you think people think that?
I'm not quite sure. Probably they're uninformed. I would imagine.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I mean, they're entitled to their own views.
Because
we live in a free
people
country.
in Hamas historically had roles in government, and that is initially the dichotomy. In fact, Hamas isn't just a terrorist organisation. Hamas is a death cult.
And can I ask you?
That's what it is.
I'd also say as well that we have got this sort of single-issue politics stuff that's happening all the time now. So people are getting very involved in this one issue, and that's all they're involved in. 10 years ago, I would argue with these people and say, what about the people in your community? What about the women who are on benefits and can't get jobs or have got kids and are using food banks? They used to say things to me like, we can do both. We can do international and local. They don't say that anymore now.
What do they say now?
Well, they've just gone down the single issue. And this is, unfortunately, where our politics are. It's all single issue.
One thing I find as well, and I can guarantee the same response every time with the pro-Palestine lot. I've had a couple of interactions with them in recent weeks on this show. I went to Bradford. The reaction, Andy, is the same every time. It becomes shouting, drowning out censorship. And that seems to be a theme amongst these kind of people. We can never just have... I mean, I think I'm being quite polite and...
Sure, you are.
But it always descends, and I argue it's from their end, it always descends into some sort of, pointing, shouty match where I'm just standing there saying...
Yep.
Guys, do you want an open discussion here or not? You're the one standing on the street protesting. Do you want to talk about it?
I think, in fairness, they weren't protesting. I think it was more of a... From what I think you said in the start, it was a commemoration event for International Women's Day, in fairness. But, I mean, I'm pro-Palestine. I think I'm having a reasonably open discussion. I've got no music playing, no shouting.
Well, the lady got a megaphone to drown me out.
You said every single time someone pro-Palestine speaks, I mean, I'm pro-Palestine. So,
Well, I'm talking about protesters I meet on the street. I guess my point is why, Lisa, a lot of the people on the left, I don't see this happening on the right, a lot of people on the left, whenever you try to hold an open debate or a discussion, it always descends into...
Well, me and Lisa are both on the left.
Yeah, I would also argue that I'm not sure how many of these people are actually on the left. Traditional
left... I think it's so muddled.
No, but because I think, traditional left politics was always about class politics. It was about services, it was about poverty, it was about inequality. These are single-issue people now. These are people that are focused, whether it's on pro-Palestine or it's pro-trans or whatever it is this week.
What I can't understand...
They are
You know
focused.
what I really can't understand is these women are outside there, they're in High Wycombe town centre, and they are protesting. That is a sort of protest. Oh. You tell me how many of those women get out there and try and get their hands dirty, doing some good for either evacuees or asylum seekers or refugees.
I mean, we don't know them. We don't know them.
Yeah, but I guarantee you they protest but they don't actually do work. They don't run conversational English classes. They don't run food
how
banks.
do we know? Well,
let's find out, because I'd be very interested. I'd be very interested in that, because I too, Ben, am quite tired of hearing talk. I met loads of people, and I did run 2 conversational English programmes, so I met a lot of asylum seekers and I met a lot of the charities that surrounded them. And actually, I don't think that many of the women that were connected with those charities did very much at all.
As Andy said, we don't know what these women are doing, who they are. One said she was a former army veteran. I think she mentioned to me off camera that she works with PTSD with soldiers or something like that. But, I just don't know why these discussions and debates have to always descend into censorship matches. She got the megaphone out. All I was saying was she was talking about the number of Palestinian kids who have been killed. And I have before on this show been vocal about the number of Palestinian children dying. I've been called a Hamas sympathiser for doing so, laughably. And when I said, oh, what about Kafir Bass, the 9-month-old infant who didn't make it to his first birthday?
She closed that right down.
But again, that's because we've got these politics of sort of, of the individual, and it's that because they believe in something so strongly, that's all they've got. It's just that belief now.
OK, right. Thank you, panel. Coming up, Meghan Markle's cookery show has received mixed reviews, to put it mildly.
Meghan, I want to ask about your look.
My who?
Your look. Your look, Meghan.
Oh, my...
Apparently, it's not even her house. Well, I'll be joined by celebrity chef Jameson Stocks, who's cooked for the likes of King Charles and claims Meghan's new show nearly sent him to sleep. I also think, I'll let him reveal this, he was asked perhaps to work on it. Don't go anywhere. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Generally dry across much of the UK over the next 24 hours. Plenty of sunshine to come through Sunday. Winds generally light and temperatures well above average for the time of year. Low pressure sat to the southwest, drawing in warm air from the near continent. But we're between weather systems, so most places generally staying dry over the next 24 hours. There are a few showers, though, across western parts through the evening time and also the far north of Scotland. But as we head overnight, most places will be dry with lengthy clear spells. And as winds fall light, particularly across parts of Scotland, northern England, temperatures here will drop away close to freezing. Some mist and fog patches developing as well, but for most, temperatures above freezing to start Sunday morning. So we take a look at the details for Sunday morning. A weather front across the far north of Scotland, giving further outbreaks of patchy rain here. Temperatures around 6-7 degrees, but plenty of sunshine elsewhere. Some mist and fog patches are possible, but they should burn back to the coast quite quickly. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England as well. Just a few fog patches, and dry across the rest of England and Wales. Just perhaps a little bit of rain getting close to the far southwest of England, but again, most likely staying dry here too. A little bit breezy here, but for most through Sunday, winds will be light. There'll be plenty of sunshine. Just further outbreaks of patchy rain affecting the far north of Scotland, and very little change through the rest of the afternoon into the evening time, and temperatures well above average. Looking at 17, 18, 19, possibly 20 Celsius in the best of the sunshine. Somewhere across North Wales into northwest England could reach that top spot. On Monday, it's all changed. A weather system's moving southwards, introducing northerly winds and much colder air across Scotland. This slowly pushes southwards through Monday and into Tuesday, introducing that colder air. But southern parts holding on to that warm air for one day more, so 16, 17 Celsius possible, then turning colder for all from Tuesday.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News. Now, have you had the massive privilege of watching Meghan Markle's new Netflix show? I know you're all big fans at home, so let's take a look at what she's been cooking up.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids, and you go, no, I share my name with my children.
It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent, and it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do.
It's good, right?
You did a great job. Thank you.
This feels like a new chapter that I'm so excited that I get to share. All of that is just part of that creativity that I've missed so much.
Oh, it looks great, doesn't it? Amazing, can't wait. Well, the new show called With Love, Meghan has been slammed as a load of nonsense by a former chef for King Charles, with Jameson Stocks, the man himself, admitting he was forced to switch it off. It launched on Sunday to mixed reviews as Meghan attempted to find her way around a very fancy kitchen. Apparently it's not hers, despite having no experience in the culinary world. But Stocks, who was trained by Marco Pierre White and has worked as a celeb chef for many, many years, felt her lack of culinary expertise shone through in scenes he dismissed as orchestrated, choreographed and boring. And the man himself is with me now. Jameson, good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Thank you for being with me.
I just got here, yeah.
I know, what a journey you've had. What happened?
I did.
Trains were cancelled.
Trains and taxis and drivers. And
all the way from the south coast?
All the way from the south coast,
well, look,
yeah.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your company because you were you asked to work on this series with Meghan?
I was asked last year by Netflix if I wanted to consult on a lifestyle programme. They didn't go into too much detail to whom it was, but I already kind of knew who it was anyway.
Why didn't you take it up?
I felt that even if she produced a really great programme, which I was quite sceptical of anyway, that I might get a little bit slammed for being a part of it, to be honest with you.
Amongst your colleagues and industry peers?
Not really. I just didn't want to. I didn't like the idea of me showing her how to do something, and then it kind of being forced and fake.
Yeah. So you think whoever did eventually help Meghan would have had to have shown her how to cook and make recipes, and then she's passing off as her own?
Well, I'd imagine with a production company like Netflix would have 2 or 3 consultants.
Yeah.
They'll have a stylist, for instance, for clothes. She'll have a, they'll be given ideas what to do for food. And I just felt that, if she's going to do something herself, she should do something herself. But, I mean, Netflix is obviously such a huge company.
Yeah.
They're going to surround it with quality people to make her look good, because at the end of the day, they're trying to chase the money and claw a bit of money back.
Well, you said no to the project, and you've watched bits of it now. You've said it feels orchestrated, choreographed, boring. What's your take on it?
Well, I was asked by a national newspaper to for my views and what I thought about it. So obviously, I wasn't going to kind of make my own opinion on there without looking at it and watching it. And I honestly thought it was terrible.
What's so bad about it?
I think everything. The music's quite slow. It's quite lethargic. It's quite it's just painful to watch, to be honest.
And you don't have to name drop, because I know A, you can't, and B, it's not your thing, but you've worked with lots of big names, and I'm talking mega names across the world of celebrity.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood A-list.
A-list.
Have you heard anything on the ground amongst those cohorts about this new show?
I haven't, no, but I mean, quite a lot of people have been quite opinionated. People either like her or they don't. People, even if she did a great programme, people would judge her, either for her or against her. I've had quite a bit of slack myself for kind of going against the programme.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
Well, if not cooking then, just finally and briefly, where should Meghan turn her attentions to?
I think she should just go back to acting.
Yeah.
She's quite a good actress.
Yeah.
In real life or in, obviously on screen. But, I always think people should stick to what they do best. And it's like, I couldn't just jump into a Formula 1 car and start driving it around.
No. Although many of us would love to, including my 5-year-old son. Just finally, you've, of course, cooked for King Charles.
Yes.
Any royal ambitions on the horizon or projects?
Well, I like to do the Trump.
You'd like to do the state visit?
I like to do the state visit, yeah. So, you know where I am.
Jameson, you could just get yourself down to KFC or McDonald's and just get loads of Big Macs in. And
no, I've cooked
he's a massive fan of...
I've cooked for Donald before, and he likes his food.
Yeah. All right, Jameson Stocks, thank you for being with us and appreciate your very messy journey up here to be with us tonight.
All right, no worries.
Right, coming up, the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, some massive stories on the front, including this Rupert Lowe column in the Sunday Telegraph, and Nigel Farage has spoken out as well. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, let's get your weather.
Expect a warm front moving from the kitchen
right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Generally dry across much of the UK over the next 24 hours. Plenty of sunshine to come through Sunday. Winds generally light and temperatures well above average for the time of year. Low pressure sat to the southwest, drawing in warm air from the near continent. But we're between weather systems, so most places generally staying dry over the next 24 hours. There are a few showers, though, across western parts through the evening time and also the far north of Scotland. But as we head overnight, most places will be dry with lengthy clear spells. And as winds fall light, particularly across parts of Scotland, northern England, temperatures here will drop away close to freezing. Some mist and fog patches developing as well, but for most, temperatures above freezing to start Sunday morning. So we take a look at the details for Sunday morning. A weather front across the far north of Scotland giving further outbreaks of patchy rain here. Temperatures around 6-7 degrees, but plenty of sunshine elsewhere. Some mist and fog patches are possible, but they should burn back to the coast quite quickly. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England as well. Just a few fog patches and dry across the rest of England and Wales. Just perhaps a little bit of rain getting close to the far southwest of England, but again, most likely staying dry here too. A little bit breezy here, but for most through Sunday, winds will be light. There'll be plenty of sunshine. Just further outbreaks of patchy rain affecting the far north of Scotland, and very little change through the rest of the afternoon into the evening time. And temperatures, well, above average. Looking at 17, 18, 19, possibly 20 Celsius in the best of the sunshine. Somewhere across North Wales into northwest England could reach that top spot. On Monday, it's all changed. Weather systems moving southwards, introducing northerly winds and much colder air across Scotland. This slowly pushes southwards through Monday and into Tuesday, introducing that colder air. But southern parts holding on to that warm air for one day more, so 16, 17 Celsius possible, then turning colder for all from Tuesday.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and the designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight, Rupert Lowe, he's not going quietly, is he? He's been speaking to the Sunday Telegraph tomorrow and claims he's the victim of a witch hunt. At the same time, Nigel Farage also speaking to the paper with pretty staggering revelations that Rupert Lowe crossed the floor of the House of Commons and physically assaulted a opposition minister. More details on that in just a second, but to the Mail on Sunday, this will be on your shelves tomorrow in your newsagents. They report, and we've already beaten them to it actually, in fact at the start of the show, the Home Office are tonight refusing to say if this gun-toting migrant has been arrested. Abu Wadi, he's been linked to Hamas, he's now in the UK, they're not saying where he is. And good news, hard-working taxpayers, you've spent £1 million on SIM cards for asylum seekers. Yes, you heard that right, £1 million on SIM cards for mobile phones for asylum seekers. And this is very funny. Are honest shoppers being treated like thieves? Because giant trolley scales are now being trialled at a Tesco supermarket in Gateshead to ensure the weight is the same as the items scanned. But some have complained it feels like going through border control at an airport instead of just doing your weekly shop. Joining me tonight is my esteemed panel, journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, the anarchist and academic Dr. Lisa McKenzie, and the media strategist Andy Twelves. All of tomorrow's newspapers coming up, but first, let's get your news headlines with Lewis McKenzie.
Good evening, I'm Lewis McKenzie in the GB newsroom. The Reform MP Rupert Lowe has been suspended from the party amid allegations he made physical threats against the party chairman, Zia Youssef. Mr Youssef confirmed the party had also received complaints from 2 female employees about serious bullying in Mr Lowe's parliamentary and constituency offices. In a statement, Mr Lowe said he was disappointed but not surprised to learn of what he says are false allegations. He also said that the allegations of bullying from his office are not about him. Pro-Palestine activists have vandalised President Trump's golf course in Scotland. Red paint was sprayed over the clubhouse, while the message "Gaza is not for sale" was painted on the lawn of the US president's Turnberry course. This action is reportedly in response to his administration's plans to, quote, take over Gaza and ethnically cleanse the region. A body has been recovered by police from the River Thames, which is being linked to a manhunt for the suspect in the Valentine's Day pub shooting in Kent. 43-year-old Lisa Smith was killed last month after she was shot outside the Three Horseshoe pub in Knockholt. The suspect was known to Lisa, and later that evening, officers found his car abandoned on the Queen Elizabeth II bridge in the area. A police investigation is ongoing. 3 suspects are still at large after 12 people were injured in a shooting at a pub in Toronto. Authorities say 6 people suffered bullet wounds and others hurt by flying glass or shrapnel. All other injuries are not life-threatening. The motive for the attack is still unclear. Today is International Women's Day. The annual celebration aims to champion women's achievements across all aspects of life. To mark the event, the House of Commons have posted this photo of female MPs. Now, currently, there are 263 female MPs serving in the House, making up 40% of the total number of MPs today, the highest number in the history of the UK. And finally, 4 European brown bears at Whipsnade Zoo have woken up from hibernation. The bears Manna, Minnie, Naya and, of course, Cinderella have finally gotten out of bed after 3 months of deep slumber, signalling the start of spring at the UK's largest zoo. Thank you very much. I've been Lewis McKenzie, and those are your GB News headlines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Lewis, and good evening to you. Welcome to Ben Leo Tonight. This is the News Hour, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages from the Sunday papers. We'll start with The Observer, shall we? The headline reads, Britain's among hardest hit by COVID fallout 5 years on. 5 years since COVID. Do you remember? Goodness me, those were the days, weren't they? Britain apparently performs worse than most other developed nations in its response to the COVID pandemic. That's according to a Observer analysis of international data 5 years on from the first lockdown, and what a mess that's caused. The Mail on Sunday, rather. And I have to say, we beat them to it. I know we're on air at 9 and this paper's out tomorrow, but we got there first, Mail on Sunday. They're leading on this man, Abu Wadeh, who is a Hamas-linked militant, they're calling him. They're going as far as calling him a militant. He's posing here with an AK-47. Apparently, he's no innocent fleeing the horrors of Gaza, but he's a militant who's called for the slaughter of all Jews and posed menacingly with rifles. This guy crossed the channel this week. He is now in Britain, and the Home Office, as they told us earlier tonight, they can't tell us where he is. Is he in one of these £5 million a day hotels? Is he one of these migrants who are seen wandering the lanes of the countryside, the great British countryside? We don't know. The Home Office won't say. I think they should be telling us. The Sunday Express, another cracker, £6.6 billion. That's the cost of asylum seeker support in Britain. This is a special Sunday Express investigation from Lottie O'Brien. It includes, and brace yourself for this, tennis lessons and zoo trips, among bonkers schemes, all paid for by you, the taxpayer. Welcome back to my panel, Linda Jubilee, Lisa McKenzie and Andy Twelves. Should we briefly touch on the Mail on Sunday story that we've covered extensively tonight? Andy, you were saying in the first hour in 9 o'clock that you didn't think or couldn't conclude that this guy was a member of Hamas or indeed affiliated with Hamas. But, I mean, he's posing here with a rifle, and the Mail on Sunday say he's a militant who's called for the slaughter of all Jews. So have you changed your stance?
The Mail on Sunday say lots of things about lots of people.
Oh, come on, Andy. What's it going to take then for you to think this guy's a bit of a danger?
I assume this exclusive is based off the same Twitter thread that we based our segment on earlier, which didn't really conclude any evidence he was in Hamas.
So what would it take for you to consider this guy dangerous to the British public?
Evidence.
I mean, he's sitting there posing with an AK-47.
Lots of people.
Is he a future doctor or architect?
I mean, that's a bizarre dog whistle, but it's
how's that a dog whistle?
I mean, they've got what, maybe that's 150 words. It doesn't really give any conclusive evidence. The Twitter thread doesn't really give any conclusive evidence.
And what I do personally know, because I was a staff reporter on the Mail on Sunday, is that they have a whole team of lawyers that go scrupulously over what they print. Now, this is not social media where people are just pinging stuff out.
Is this the same legal team that hid the evidence from the phone hacking committee? No, I mean the legal team of the Mail on Sunday have failed before, so let's not act like they're the greatest.
No, occasionally any newspaper fails. But what I'm saying is that newspapers take great care to try and make sure that their stories are accurate.
I'm sure they do.
Now what we've got here is a dangerous man in this country.
I mean, how do you know he's dangerous? How do you know he's dangerous?
Well, he's not carrying a toothpick, is he? He's carrying an assault rifle.
He's not brought an assault rifle into the UK. He's been in Europe since at least July 2023.
So
they're claiming that they're kind of alluding that he's involved somehow in Hamas's attack on October 7th.
I don't even mind whether he was involved or not in the October 7th.
Don't you think the bigger question here is he an asylum seeker?
Yeah.
Because that's the point, isn't it? That's the argument. Is he and if he is...
Well, the Mail on Sunday have called him an asylum seeker.
Andy, can I ask you?
The Mail on Sunday have defined him as an asylum seeker.
If he's been in Europe since 2023, then, he's not in danger now.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying there's no conclusive evidence he's a member of Hamas. When there's, like on the front page of The Observer, there are actual foreign spying happening in the UK. Those are the serious risks. We should be focusing on that rather than fear-mongering about
Andy, can I ask you a question?
Why would you be posing with an assault rifle?
I don't know.
Why? Difficult to explain.
Andy,
I think everyone's got one.
Why are you so intent on defending this guy?
Because we don't know. It's just fear-mongering when we've got actual foreign agents acting in the UK, as reported on the front page of the Observer.
Let's go through the facts.
That is what we should be talking about, not kind of guessing based on a Twitter thread.
Andy,
that's not what we should be discussing.
Let's go through the facts. You've got a guy from Palestine, a nation which the likes of Jordan and Egypt won't take any refugees from? Because...
And that's wrong.
Right, OK. Well,
that is wrong.
I don't want it either, and you've called me racist for it. But you've got a guy here on the front page posing with an AK-47. We've shown video tonight of him chanting about Jews, saying that he'd die for Allah. In another video, the Man on Sunday says that he's posted on his Facebook calling for Allah to punish the Jews completely. What's it going to take for someone like you to say, actually, this guy is a bit of a risk?
I'm not saying he's not a wrong-un. I'm saying he's not a member of Hamas.
Yeah, but we're not.
Or at least it's not clear that he's not a member of Hamas. It's based on a Twitter thread.
Let's forget that he's a member of Hamas, and let's think about whether we would find him acceptable in this country. Whatever.
Who's we?
All I'm interested in...
The government? You? Me? Who?
All I'm interested in is...
Maybe ordinary folk in Britain.
I think that Britain has always been very good at supporting asylum seekers and refugees, and I support that. My question here, and it also goes on to the 6.6 billion cost on the Express, is how many, are these asylum seekers? That's my question.
And actually, it's not that I wouldn't support asylum seekers. I gave my road bike to an asylum seeker. I've given clothes to an asylum seeker.
You gave your bike to an asylum seeker?
My road bike I gave to an Afghan.
When was that?
After the fall of Kabul, there was a very nice family that I encountered, and I had two bikes, a proper road bike for triathlon.
Where was the Afghan person? In the UK?
The Afghan person was in Hounslow.
Right.
And so I thought he needed a hand, and I wanted to help his family, who I'm still in touch with. It's not that I don't want to support asylum seekers, it's that I regard people like this as a problem, as do the security services.
OK, well, Andy doesn't seem to think he's a problem, so let's move on.
That's not what I said, but OK.
Well, I don't know. What are you saying, then?
I'm saying that, you saying that he's affiliated with Hamas or a member of Hamas is not true.
He's sat there with an AK-47. Come on. Come on, what are we doing here?
And lots of Irish people posed with members of the IRA, but they weren't members of the IRA.
All right, let's play...
It's a silly comparison.
All right, let's finish on that note, then. It's getting, frankly, bizarre. The Sunday Express, this is a great story. Currently, I guess in theme, £6.6 billion. That's the cost to British taxpayers for asylum seeker support. And get this, guys, it includes tennis lessons, zoo trips and £1 million for SIM cards.
See, I want to support asylum seekers. I do. I think that the British, our history has been very strong in supporting refugees and asylum seekers. I think now, whatever system we've got and whatever the way that we're looking at asylum seekers, it's not actually working. It's not working for the British people. It's not working for any of us, really. I mean, we're up 2,000 people in the last few days. Where are we going to keep putting people?
Yeah, but can I just say here,
Andy's bedroom.
There's a whole network. There is a whole network of hotels, and the amount of money paid for them is negotiated by an agency. Right, that's what happens. And they go to the hotel. Some of these hotels actually returned to normal occupancy within 3 years of the fall of Kabul. And they were the successful hotels that were doing OK. The others, who were failing businesses, who picked up on these government contracts, would have gone under. And that might sound brutal, but sometimes a business fails because it's simply not a going concern.
I know somebody who owns one of these hotels. They offer them 10 years up front, double the rent. So I kind of don't blame them.
Refugees,
I don't blame them,
it's a growing business.
It's our money.
Oh, yeah, of course. There's some detail here in this Sunday Express article. It says one contract detailed in this story from the Wethersfield asylum accommodation. If you're a regular of this show, you and I went down there a few weeks ago. Arrivals were greeted to RAF Wethersfield with £20,000 worth of sports coaches and equipment for activities such as volleyball, tennis and athletics 4 times a day, 3 times a week. I fork out a lot of money for my son's tennis lessons. Bless my boy. Why should illegal migrants who have broken into this country illegally, be getting free tennis lessons, Andy?
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. You agree?
Yeah.
But I think also there's a point about, I don't actually know details of the story because I haven't fully read it. Obviously, it's only just broken. But I'd be interested to see whether these are specific classes for asylum seeker people or are these people who are taking council funding. They've
gone to London Zoo, Kew Gardens, Arsenal's Emirates Stadium. Other contracts included sandwich delivery services worth almost 50 grand. The value of each lunch was £4.45 with options including chicken, egg mayo. Yeah, that's OK.
£4.45 is a decent deal.
Do you know how angry though? You know, people at home now who are struggling and they can't afford the heating, and the bread is going up and milk is going up and everyone is struggling. This sort of story really enrages people. It makes people very, very angry. And that's why I think that we need to have a better conversation about this.
Maybe it shows capitalism is flawed.
Yeah.
Who would
Well,
have thought that?
The refugee industry is a growing industry. It's a very lucrative industry. I think we should be talking.
Who's at the heart of it?
Well, I suppose the government are giving out these mega contracts and brilliant contracts to hoteliers. There's human rights lawyers making money out of it. There's charities that keep going on it. It's a growing business.
Yeah, NGOs have a lot to answer for. I mean, this Sunday Express story is from Lottie O'Brien, who actually used to work at GB News. She's very talented. It's great. It's a very big exclusive. Lots of detail in there. £1.1 million spent on SIM cards for mobile phones. The order specified that each SIM card had to have 60 gigabytes of data, which is a lot if you're familiar with it. I think the average, according to the Sunday Express, for a normal Brit is 8 gigabytes of data.
You need TikTok.
They need their TikTok. Good point, Lisa. Good point. Yeah, so there we go. And elsewhere, anything else on the front? The Observer. Andy, you liked this one about the Kremlin spying in the UK.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's actually, extremely serious that foreign operatives are in our country operating. And, obviously, a lot of the work that security services do won't be on the front page of the newspapers because of the nature of the work. Yeah. But, when it does break and when we do find out, it is actually extremely concerning that these things are going on. They live among us.
Well, when you saw the pictures when the Bulgarians were convicted yesterday, or the day before, was it? I think it was yesterday.
Friday,
and they're in a B&B in Great Yarmouth, where the whole of the basement of this building is totally crammed full of surveillance gear, and you think, I wonder what the neighbours thought.
Yeah. Amateur photographers, I suppose. That's what they put it down to.
Well, yeah, and I mean, these spy rings and KGB agents are operating day in, day out. I know for a fact there was I won't say the location, there was a warehouse in the UK housing thousands of Starlink units, which was mysteriously burnt down. The fire service didn't know what caused it, but I know for a fact that it was Russia who burnt it down because they were headed for Ukraine, the Starlink units. Right. That was last year at some point in the southeast. Right, let's get onto the Great British Giveaway, shall we? It's a new one. Let's make your spring a spectacular one. You could win £17,777. There you go, in tax-free cash. Here's all the details you need to win.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound?
Oh my God, that's brilliant news.
For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Very good luck to you. That would be a nice way to kick off spring, wouldn't it? Coming up next, we have the campaign for against anti-Semitism, who are the source of this Mail on Sunday story. The guy who's affiliated with Hamas, maybe he is a Hamas member, we don't know, but the story has come from the campaign against anti-Semitism. I kicked off the show with it tonight. We're going to be getting the lowdown and all the detail on where they got their story from. That's coming up next.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bet
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Well, let's talk about something that has really divided opinion now. So this is King Charles gearing up for a religious festival, not Easter, Ramadan, packing dates for Muslims, observing a month of fasting. Here's the clip.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize the king would be so fast. you are packing dates faster than I can see them.
What do you make of that, Charlie?
Well, I don't see any problems with it. I mean, let's not forget that the royals, particularly the king, does an awful lot of work with a variety of charities, especially those charities that help people who are, down on their luck or need a bit of extra boost. This one is a doorstep charity which provides help to people waiting for new homes. Now, you mentioned this one. This is for Ramadan. Now, in a month's time, Patrick, he'll be doing the Easter service, a Christian festival, and he'll on the day before Good Friday, he'll be donating the Monday money that comes out every year to 30-odd pensioners. It's not a princely sum. They're not going to be able to pay the winter fuel allowance, or it's not going to cover anything like that. But it is symbolic. Now, he does an awful lot of things. And remember, years and years ago, Charles has always said he didn't want to be defender of the faith. He wanted to be defender of all faith. So it's only right that the king fosters good relationships with a variety of religions.
As well, Charles, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you on. Good to see you again, mate. It's been a little while. It's Charlie Ray there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News. We return now to a story I first mentioned at the top of the show. An illegal migrant who appears to have entered the UK by small boat this week. He has entered the UK. He's here. We don't know where he is. That's after he brazenly raged against Jews on social media and saying his ambition in life is to die for Allah. His name is Abu Wadi, and he's been investigated by the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, who have found pretty chilling evidence suggesting he's backed by the terror group Hamas. And they're pushing now for the Home Office to remove him from the country. We're joined now by the Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, Stephen Silverman. Stephen, good evening. We also asked the Home Office this evening, off the back of your good work, about where this guy is. They wouldn't answer us. Have you got any more clear knowledge yet about his whereabouts?
It's disgraceful, isn't it? No, we don't. I mean, it's not our job to actually locate this person. We've provided the evidence that tells us exactly who he is. And, let's be clear about what this individual is. He's a member of a Hamas-endorsed unit that has been involved in serious violence on the Gaza-Israel border, and he wants to die for the sake of Allah. When we saw his video in which he celebrated arriving in the UK, our online investigations team went looking and was able to piece together his profile from information that's publicly available on the internet. And he told the crowd at a rally in Gaza that he is a member of the tire burning unit, which was active in the Hamas-endorsed violent border riots in 2018 and 2019. He also said that his loftiest aspiration is to die for the sake of Allah. We then found another video in which he was praying. And, let me give you a couple of lines from this prayer. Oh Allah, punish the Jews and those who support them. Oh Allah, punish the Jews and those who are in league with them. Oh Allah, kill them all and do not leave a single one of them. Oh Allah, destroy them completely, scatter them completely, and make the earth fall from under their feet. And then at the same rally, you hear chants of Khaybar, which is a reference to a medieval battle in which Jews were slaughtered, and it's a warning to Jews that the armies of Muhammad are returning. We also found photographs of him apparently at a conference addressed by Yahya Sinwar, who your viewers might recall was the leader of Hamas who masterminded the atrocity in Israel on the 7th of October. This is a man who should not be anywhere near this country. And if someone...
Sorry to interject. Unfortunately, he is in this country. He's on potentially the streets of Britain tonight. We don't know where he is. The Home Office won't say where he is. What's your advice to the 300,000 odd Jews in this country? Because judging by your investigation, this guy isn't a fan of Israel. He's not a fan of Jews, and he's prepared to die in his quest to eliminate Jews.
Well, indeed. And I think, I mean, what that means, I mean, you have a community of almost 300,000 Jews in this country who have been harassed, discriminated against, abused for the last 16 or 17 months. It's becoming intolerable. And to know that there are people in this country who actually are prepared to do them that degree of harm is absolutely appalling. But the important thing here to remember is it is not just Jews who are at risk. The whole population is at risk for somebody who is prepared to martyr themselves, to kill themselves in the process of carrying out what they believe to be the will of their God. And, you know, the really worrying thing here is that if someone with such a violent extremist ideology has been able to enter this country so easily, it's inconceivable that others have not preceded him.
Yeah, well, Stephen, I said tonight earlier in the show, we kicked off the show with this story, and I said how many more members of, or even people affiliated with Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, whoever else, Al-Nusra Front, whatever, how many more people are amongst the thousands and thousands of people crossing the English Channel? We don't know who they are, where they came from. Stephen, can I ask you how this guy first came on your radar?
We saw the video that he posted on social media as he arrived in the UK.
So he's just going on TikTok. By the way, he's got 150,000 followers on TikTok. I dread to think who's following him. And he's just said, I'm in the UK now, guys.
Yeah, the crazy thing here is that this guy was able to enter, despite having used social media to openly broadcast his journey from the Middle East to Greece to Switzerland to Germany, and then to drift in on the tide into the UK. You know, if our borders are this compromised, if we have so little control that someone connected to a prescribed genocidal terror group that wants to wipe Jews off the face of the earth can just come in this fashion, our national security is completely undermined.
So what should the government do then, Stephen? What's your message to Sir Keir Starmer if he's watching tonight? I argue we need to call a national emergency.
Well, short term, find this man, find out where he is, get him off the streets until further, and hold him in custody until further investigation. Long term, the situation cannot be allowed to continue. Immigration is a wider issue, but we cannot let people who espouse a violent, genocidal ideology and who are prepared to die for that ideology into our country.
OK, Stephen Silverman, thank you. Great investigation. You are the Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism. I think if the Home Office don't want to tell us where he is, I think at least, panel, welcome back, Lisa, Linda, Andy, I think at least the Home Office should be saying we have him or we don't have him. I think they should make the public aware. If this guy is free to roam the streets of Britain, free to roam if he's an RAF Wethersfield, the private lanes of Wethersfield.
People need to know.
People need to know.
They do. People do need to know that. I mean, it just concerns me that the Home Office, they're not. They're making these headlines even worse because they're not saying what's happening. So people are assuming now that he's walking around the streets. I'm sure there's going to be a load of sort of white middle class liberal women who's going to be sort of putting into his fundraiser to buy him whatever he needs right now as we speak.
No, I think we definitely need to know where he is. And I don't really understand why the Home Office is dragging its heels about that. When I saw the prepared statement that was put up, it wasn't even a proper reply to what the question to start with. If you look at their statement, it doesn't address anyone's concerns at all. Well, it's an anodyne, bland, pre-prepared statement that they can probably put out twice
so their response,
any story.
Their response was, while it's a long-standing rule that we never comment on individual cases or operational matters, the British public can be reassured that we take all steps necessary to protect the nation's security. I mean, what does that mean?
That's just word salad. Yeah. That means absolutely nothing.
Andy, listening to Stephen there from the campaign for against anti-Semitism, is that enough evidence for you?
I mean, he defined, the attachment, the affiliation, I think is the word, of him being part of a militant part of Hamas. I mean, as the tire burners that was on the March to Return in 2018. I mean, the march had been condemned by the UN, Amnesty International, the Red Cross, where they had this big kind of march commemorating 11 years of a lot of Gazans had been expelled, and the IDF opened fire on this protest. 150 Palestinians were killed, 10,000 were injured because they were protesting. That's what he's defining as part of this militant affiliation. He's not a member of Hamas. If that's the evidence, then he's not a member of Hamas.
But the IDF is one thing, but saying Jew... that is racist.
I'm not denying he's not an anti-Semite.
I mean, earlier
I'm not denying he's not an anti-Semite.
Earlier you said, Palestinian is not an ethnic... It's not a race. Arab is a race. So if Ben had said no Arabs in this country, that's racist.
Let's not rehash this again.
But when you say Jew, that is racist.
Sure.
And I think we just have to. That needs to just be accepted.
I'm not denying he's not an anti-Semite. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the basis of him being in Hamas. That's not that he's not in Hamas. If it's him being in the tire burning unit, that's not it.
OK, interesting. I really hope the Home Office does have a grip on this guy, wherever he is in the UK. I hope he's in a detention centre, and quite frankly, I think all small boat arrivals should be in detention centres. I don't think they should be free to roam the streets of Britain, getting bus services into town and mixing with communities and roaming the lanes of Wethersfield, a tiny village where asylum seekers now outnumber villagers. I think it's an absolute disgrace. So I hope we find out where this guy is. He's sat there on the front page of the Mail on Sunday, posing with an AK-47. This is the type of person coming across the channel on a small boat. Thousands of them. Thousands of them. And Keir Starmer says he'll smash the gangs. So far, up until this point this year, 1,900 people from Saturday last week. This point up until March the 8th, the record numbers going all the way back to 2016, a record number of people. It's a disgrace. And it should be a national emergency. When you've got people... Sorry to bang on about this. When you've got people like this in the country posing with AK-47s linked to Hamas, responsible for October the 7th, that should be a cause for a national emergency. Right. More papers coming up in just a second. I'll calm down. We're going to be taking a look at some the other big stories in tomorrow's front pages, including a spy plot to control the flow of migrants into Europe. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I do think that there is extremities in how this has been approached with, you can't eat kebabs anymore. The Climate Change Committee isn't talking about banning meat. It's talking about reducing meat, perhaps having some incentives for plant-based diets. It's talking about doing small changes, not phasing out everything, doing small changes to move to a net zero future, a more sustainable future.
How can me not having a lodged on a combat, I don't know, China opening one coal-fired power station a week? Come on, this is pointless.
Well, there is other things that have been advised beyond just, reducing our meat consumption. There's things around the tax around flying and aviation, producing less fossil fuel imports and switching to more renewable power, upgrading the grid. There's a lot of other advisories collectively that moves us towards a net zero future. There is a few, of course, we can go down the route of, they can't eat the kebab anymore, but there's far more other things at play than just the kebab meat.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump, that man again, is just laughing at all this. Drill, baby, drill. You know, you're not telling me that his cabinet are going to chow down on some quinoa. You know, this is a red meat country leading the way, and if we had half a brain about us, we'd be drilling ourselves.
I come from an energy industry background. I work for a data intelligence company, Mapstand, as well. And what we're seeing is that what's happening in America is actually quite short-term thinking. It's not long-term thinking. Whereas in places in China, you're seeing a lot of innovation and green innovation because there is a huge economic opportunity.
Yeah, because they're selling it all to the West and polluting their atmosphere. We're offshoring our carbon footprint, and they're selling the solar panels back to us because we're the mugs.
We're also able to be the producers and also change our own energy so that we can also compete.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News. More front pages have just dropped. Let's start with the Sunday Telegraph. Russian spies plot to control flow of migrants. A Russian spy master plotted to use private armies to control migration into Europe, the Sunday Telegraph can reveal. A picture of James Bond, Pierce Brosnan rather, my favourite James Bond, who said that the next Bond actor shouldn't be an American, I say obviously, as he laments Amazon's takeover of the spy franchise. And just on the right-hand side there, this new column from Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, saying that infighting will only hurt us at the ballot box, and he's broken his silence in the wake of the Rupert Lowe row. And also at the bottom here, some great stories in the Sunday Telegraph. The King Charles, calls for Commonwealth unity in uncertain times. He said it's all too easy to believe that our differences are problems, and he'll praise the ever-important ability of the alliance of 56 countries to bring people together. The Sunday Times, pro-Palestine activists target defence firms. Groups carried out 170 attacks last year. And, of course, we saw the scaling of Big Ben today by the pro-Palestine protester, easy for me to say, draping a flag over Big Ben. And also Donald Trump's course in Scotland, his golf course at Turnberry, activists targeting there as well. And The Sun on Sunday, have we got that? Liam Gallagher, love child drama. Oasis frontman Liam Gallagher is embroiled in a new legal battle with the mother of his love child. Mum court bid for more cash. Rock and roll. Oh, and it's Cheltenham soon, isn't it? Cheltenham, April.
Yeah.
I used to love racing. It used to be my dream to be a horse racing reporter.
Really?
Yeah, I did a few columns at my local newspaper. It was always my dream to be a horse racing sort of commentator.
Was that quite near where your paper was? I can't remember.
Goodwood.
Goodwood was quite near.
Yeah, Goodwood, down in my neck of the woods, Goodwood, Plumpton, Fontwell. I used to speak to...
Goodwood is the most beautiful racecourse in the country, I think.
It is beautiful. I prefer national hunt racing, though. I think it's more the jumps, if anyone's not familiar, the fences.
Yeah.
It's raw, it's often very fresh.
Yeah. Dangerous.
My mate, who's a 70-year-old anarchist, it's his favourite week next week.
Cheltenham.
Yeah, it's his favourite
Used to be mine.
week.
They called it the greatest show on turf. And I think GB News have got reporters down there, so stay tuned if you're into your racing. Shall we talk about the Daily Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph? Reform UK, Nigel Farage panel, Linda, Lisa, Andy.
Yes.
Nigel Farage has broken his silence on this Rupert Lowe row. He had been quiet for the past couple of days, but he says that there have been many incidents in recent months. This is according to Nigel Farage. Rupert Lowe denies any bad behaviour, but he says there's been many incidents in the last couple of months, including one where Rupert Lowe asked a question in the Commons of a Labour minister. He didn't like the answer, and after this session, crossed the floor and put a hand on the Labour minister's shoulder. It all got a bit handbags, and Nigel Farage cites that as one example of the kind of situation they've been trying to contain, Lisa.
Yeah, well, this...
Sorry, Linda.
Sorry, Linda.
Well, I think that Nigel Farage has acted quite quickly, and there was no question that Rupert Lowe, much as I did admire him, he can't be bounced out from his constituency, but I think he's a very, very effective politician. But he had to go. Absolutely, he had to go, and he had to go quickly. There was no way back from that.
Why?
Because if you talk about the leader of your party in such a divisive way, there is no apology that will ever wipe that from people's minds. I mean, he talked about him having a messiah-like, control that he hoped could convert itself into some kind of policy making. Once you've made a remark like that, I don't really think you can come back from it.
Sorry, Lisa, before you come in. Rupert Lowe argues that he's been trying to get a meeting with Nigel Farage for many months. He's been asking him for dinner to talk about things and the way the party's run. And apparently he claims that he's been ignored and shunned. So that's why he went to...
And he may have been ignored.
Andrew Pearce.
I agree with that. He may have been ignored. But all I'm saying is once you make that kind of remark in public, it is incredibly difficult to come back from it. And actually, one of the commentators was saying last night that, it was actually Tim Montgomery who joined the party, Reform, 3 months ago, and who I think is a very good commentator. He said that as soon as he started, the tensions were evident from the get-go.
Oh, really?
So it's really been building.
But you know that people like Reform because they're not like the party politics. That's what people like about them. They're not party politics.
Everyone's got party politics.
Because they were not like the Labour Party, they're not like the Tories, there was something else. But now they are behaving like a party and they're doing party politics.
Because it's politics.
Yeah, but it's the anti-politics that people actually like about them. So now if they're going to be doing the whip situation...
Lee Anderson, Chief Whip.
Yeah, which is now they're going to be doing that. People, all they'll hear is just another political party.
You need to remove the whip. Does that mean, been kicked out of the WhatsApp group? I mean, it's hardly a big problem. I mean, the whole parliamentary caucus can fit in the back of a cab, can't they? I think, if we can't trust them to actually... I mean, the disputes over whether the KC has found evidence or not, or whether she has or not, I mean, the fact it's all been played out on Twitter is just odd. And if we can't trust them to run a party properly, how can we trust them with anything more substantial?
When there's only 5,
Yeah, there's only 5 of them, and somehow it's all played out on Twitter.
Actually.
I have to say, there's many...
It's very unfortunate.
It's very low grade. It's so low grade. When you're leading the polls, you've got all the momentum.
Yeah.
You're overtaking the Tories for members. You're claiming that you're going after Labour. And then this happens. The implosion and the style of it is worthy of the Tories. It's amateur hour.
Don't you think this is always going to happen with them, though? I always thought this would happen.
Well, when posh boys get together and try and act politics, they always implode.
Lee Anderson's not a posh boy.
Right. So you've got Lee Anderson, working class, and then you've got Richard Tice, who went to Latimer School, Farage that went to Dulwich.
I don't think
Rupert Lowe, where did he go to primary
James
school?
McMurdoch's not.
No, but he did beat his girlfriend. I mean, what did Rupert Lowe do? He put his arm on a Labour minister. Wait until they find out what James allegedly did to his girlfriend.
Andy,
can you imagine?
What were the Tories... he claims that was a mistake and he was a young kid.
Well, anyway, the courts also decided it was a mistake as well.
But Andy, where me and you come from is Reform is very liked.
Yeah, absolutely.
People, where we come from, people really like Reform.
Andy, what are the Tories and Labour, do you think? They're probably feeling pretty smug this weekend after seeing Reform's implosion, do you reckon?
Well, it's the same as Keir Starmer in 22, 23, 24. Just let them... Just stand back and just let them implode.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Tories. Just stand back, let them implode, see what happens. Because really, I mean, what could Keir Starmer contribute right now that would benefit Reform's implosion? Nothing really. Kemi probably couldn't. Just stand back and watch them implode.
Do you think they're finished, Reform?
I don't think so. No, I think they'll probably get it together.
So I think he's acted quickly enough. I tell you something I really did notice as well about Rupert Lowe, and it was in recent weeks when people were discussing MP salaries, and Rupert Lowe was saying, well, I think maybe MPs shouldn't be paid. I'm not paid, and I give my salary to charity. Now, what I will say is when someone... Because I had a similar remark from Zach Goldsmith when I worked on his campaign stuff, that he had 350 million quid, therefore he couldn't be accused of expenses scandals. Yeah. The problem is, when you've got someone who's that wealthy and that independent, they are not playing on a team. Yeah. That's the difficulty.
But people like that about... Actually, that is the thing that people like about Reform, is that they are kind of anti-politics.
Yeah,
and I think if they become just like the others, that's where I think that'll be a mistake for them.
I wonder why Nigel Farage couldn't have given him that meeting and couldn't have...
Too busy in America,
things in the... Well, quite busy in America, but couldn't have just nipped things in the bud a little bit, because he was a valuable MP.
Yeah, he was good and much loved, I think, by a lot of Reform voters. Quickly to the Sunday Times, very interesting story. Lisa, this one's for you, I think. The BBC boss has said we need to hire more Northerners, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, Samir Shah has said that the media recruits graduates from the arts, humanities, and they tend to be metropolitan and have a point of view you could describe as liberal centre, centre-left. We need more northerners of your ilk.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. I think that's
Where are you
right. I'm from the capital of common sense, where Lee Anderson's from. I'm from Ashfield.
Ashfield? Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Did you know Lee Anderson before?
I know his family. Me and his sister started work on the same day in the factory.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
His dad was on strike with my dad in a miners' strike.
What's their reputation in the town of Ashford?
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah?
Really good.
Ashfield?
Ashfield, yeah. The Andersons are a very good working class, solid family, actually.
So
and and people like him in Ashfield. He's a he's a very good local MP, and I think that's perhaps what the BBC should learn, is that there's talent all over the country, and people like to hear their own accent.
Yeah. My producer's telling me in my ear to tell you that Ashfield is the Midlands, not the North.
That's
I know,
right.
but
That's right.
the Northerners say we're the Midlands, the Southerners say we're the North.
Well, anywhere north of Watford for me is the North.
Yeah.
I think I'm closer to France than the north of England. Right, straight to the break in a minute. More front pages coming up in just a tick. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're curious about what the weather's doing further afield, well, across the Mediterranean, there's a lot of unsettled weather at the moment, especially Iberia into the south of France. But for Greece, mostly fine, sunny spells, still a bit of a breeze for the Greek islands. Italy, towards the south, yes, plenty of settled weather, but towards the north and northwest, as well as the south of France, unsettled, but not as unsettled as Portugal, Spain, Gibraltar, Madeira, where heavy showers and strong winds will be continuing through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Generally dry across much of the UK over the next 24 hours. Plenty of sunshine to come through Sunday. Winds generally light and temperatures well above average for the time of year. Low pressure sat to the southwest, drawing in warm air from the near continent. But we're between weather systems, so most places generally staying dry over the next 24 hours. There are a few showers, though, across western parts through the evening time and also the far north of Scotland. But as we head overnight, most places will be dry with lengthy, clear spells. And as winds fall light, particularly across parts of Scotland, northern England, temperatures here will drop away close to freezing. Some mist and fog patches developing as well, but for most, temperatures above freezing to start Sunday morning. So we take a look at the details for Sunday morning. A weather front across the far north of Scotland giving further outbreaks of patchy rain here. Temperatures around 6-7 degrees, but plenty of sunshine elsewhere. Some mist and fog patches are possible, but they should burn back to the coast quite quickly. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England as well. Just a few fog patches and dry across the rest of England and Wales. Just perhaps a little bit of rain getting close to the far southwest of England, but again, most likely staying dry here too. A little bit breezy here, but for most through Sunday, winds will be light. There'll be plenty of sunshine. Just further outbreaks of patchy rain affecting the far north of Scotland, and very little change through the rest of the afternoon into the evening time. And temperatures, well, above average. Looking at 17, 18, 19, possibly 20 Celsius in the best of the sunshine. Somewhere across North Wales into northwest England could reach that top spot. On Monday, it's all changed. Weather systems moving southwards, introducing northerly winds and much colder air across Scotland. This slowly pushes southwards through Monday and into Tuesday, introducing that colder air. But southern parts holding on to that warm air for one day more, so 16, 17 Celsius possible, then turning colder for all from Tuesday.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're
proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back. Let's look at the last newspaper. It's the Sunday Mirror in your newsagents and supermarkets tomorrow. The headline reads, antisocial crackdown, Labour's war on yobs. Thugs who terrorise communities face town bans and jail time. Andy, does that include people who are concerned about immigration, maybe?
I don't know, they're being antisocial.
Well, probably according to this government they are, yeah.
Sorry, do you want to come back on that snide comment, or is it still rhetorical?
Well, OK. Well, look, antisocial crackdown. Labour's going to ban yobs from town centres.
Good for them. Yeah. You do. Tough on crime,
They
tough on
all
the causes,
say it. They
isn't
say it every time. Remember when Cameron was eating like hoodies? It's an easy go-to, isn't it? It's rubbish politics.
And also in the top here, we've got the picture. I became pregnant as a man and we want more kids.
Oh,
Lisa?
I'm so confused by that story. Explain it to me.
People don't like this sort of stuff, you know. It does annoy them because it's like, just get on with your life. Why are you telling everybody?
Yeah, I became pregnant as a man. Well, you're not a man, you're a woman. Anyway, time now for big weekend fails. I'll start things off with this.
Hey, my fellow ladies out there. So, men think they own you. Take it from somebody that used to be a man. You got boobs. You got a vajayjay. Guess what, honey? You own them. Trust me, they want it. Make them earn it.
Oh, yeah, happy International Women's Day. You go, sister. You go, girl. Yeah, I want some of that. Linda, what's your fail? Let's take a look.
Who was that you just interviewed?
That is the Democratic Congresswoman for Illinois.
I've never heard of her. So you put on the most far-left member of Congress you could find to lie to the British people about Trump's successes before you interview me. I honestly have never heard of her.
It doesn't matter whether you've heard of her or not, with respect. She's been voted in by the people of Illinois.
Because the BBC deceives them with people like this from the far left squad. Did you try to find a socialist to put her on the air? I mean, this is the lowest level of journalistic standards I've ever seen.
Linda, who was the fail there? Victoria Derbyshire or the American chap?
Sadly, you know, because I'm a great admirer of Victoria Derbyshire. I think that she can do some cracking interviews, but she was totally walked over by Fred Fleitz in that.
So you think she failed?
Yeah, because he then started to interview her, and she should have said, "This is my interview. I ask the questions, you give the answers."
Lost control.
She didn't, and she looked for the rest of the programme. She looked a little bit on the wobbly side. I'm not surprised.
Easily done.
I'm not surprised because he was a bit
easily done on live TV. I'm not going to put her down for that because it'll probably happen to me next week. Lisa, this is yours.
Throughout my life, music has meant a great deal to me. It has that remarkable ability to bring happy memories, comfort us in times of sadness, and to take us to distant places. But perhaps above...
What's the fail there, Lisa?
Yeah, what's the thing? Look, does it do? So this is about the king. The madness of King Charles continues, and now he's going to be a DJ, and he's doing his own playlist that's going to bring us all together because it's about sort of integration of cultures, and he's got Bob Marley on there. Do you believe that the king listens to Bob Marley? Because I don't.
There's some old clips of him from back in the day, dancing to reggae and body popping. I'm not going to do it. Body popping. Andy, this is your big weekend fail. What is it? To describe what's going on.
It's just the reform psychodrama. I think it's just a massive fail how they've just kind of played this all out on Twitter and have just... I think at one point Rupert Lowe tweeted, "If you want real loyalty, get a dog." I'm sure. I mean, it's just an odd thing that happens.
Yeah. OK, great stuff. Thank you, panel. Lisa, I'm not sure I agree with yours. Leave the king alone.
I liked it.
I'm not a massive fan of Charles, but I mean...
do you think he should have his own Spotify playlist?
I don't know. He's changed out the monarchy. Thank you, panel. Leo Curse is on standby with headliners. Leo, good evening. What's in store tonight?
We've got Nick Dixon and Lewis Schaefer on the panel tonight, and we're going to be talking about that gunman who's come across the channel who says he wants to kill all Jews. He's called Abu Wadi. I think he's the brother of Shawadi Wadi. Yeah, he doesn't sound like a great guy. He's probably here for the Green Party conference. And also, a COVID conspiracy is busted. It did come from a lab, apparently.
Oh, yeah, who knew? Who knew? Maybe 5 years too late. Leo, thank you very much. Thank you, panel. Lisa, Linda, Andy, thank you for your company. Thank you at home for your company. Really appreciate it. I'm back tomorrow from 9 p.m. Have a great Sunday, whatever you do tomorrow, and I'll see you tomorrow night. First, though, here's your weather.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast.